Hello and welcome to this video where we are finally back in the garden for a very well overdue garden update. So one of the big things that we did in the garden was install the Peck Perk bird feeder, complete with its own camera, to film what birds were visiting the garden. So placement wise, we're going to put it on the hawthorn because the birds love that one anyway, facing out into the field because I think that'll be quite nice. And it means we're not going to have to put yet another post in the garden. So Tim is just trimming some of the wayward branches off of that so we can get this Peck Perk installed. So there are a few different sort of installation types that you can do with this Peck Perk, which is pretty cool. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the strap with the fitting so that we don't have to drill into the tree. We don't want to drill in the tree, do we, Skylar? So we're going to fit it this way, and that means that if for whatever reason it doesn't work out there or we need to move it, it's going to be much easier, and this way we're not going to do any damage to the tree. That's in. So now that the Peck Perk has been situated in the tree, what we're going to do is attach the solar panel. This is where we found out that you don't get Wi-Fi on this side of the tree. There you go. Ouch. Ooh, that's well in there. So now the feeder and the solar panel are all set up. All that's left to do is wait to see what lands on it and what birds we get in the garden. We didn't have to wait long for the Peck Perk feeder to start seeing its first visitors. By the end of March into early April, we had the first new visitors into the garden in the form of some goldfinch. The feeder also hosted one of our regular woodpeckers. May saw the arrival of a family of coal tits, as well as a nuthatch, both being garden firsts. In July, we got our first visit from some now regular greenfinch. And it's now the beginning of July, and I've noticed on the app that it's not been charging, and that is down to the fact that the hawthorn is fully in leaf. So what I've done, I have taken the solar panel off and I've moved that, and so it's out in where the sun will be when the sun is back out later on. Well, hopefully tomorrow over the weekend. And I've rigged up so I can actually, I'm just charging it from the mains at the moment just because it's down at 2%, which is not ideal. However, this is the first time I've actually had to charge it in the whole time that it's been out, which is pretty good. And it's just, I think, because the solar panel isn't in the right place. I can see like the symbol for it, it is still charging, but it's not charging enough just because of how much canopy there is under the hawthorn. But that's pretty good, I think. So hopefully, I think I'll just leave this on for an hour or so, just so it's got like at least 20 or so % in it. Then I can put the solar panel back in, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get some proper charge into it and it will get up back to 100%. Now, while the Peck Perk charges, let's hear from today's sponsor. Back in the spring, I installed the Peck Perk bird feeder into the garden to see what species were visiting. We had blue tits, great tits, robins, greater spotted woodpeckers, goldfinch, greenfinch, nuthatch, buzzards, cows. No, wait, that's my British wildlife plus one cow calendar. 12 beautiful wildlife images taken around the UK, including one cow. And for all you camera nerds, the camera settings for each image have been included. You can pick yours up from my website joeherd.co.uk, or you can head to the links in the description. Throughout the summer, we were inundated with visitors, and it was brilliant to see them all and how they all interacted with each other. It even caught some harvesting action at the end of September. Now that it is December, I've had to move it once again because it's just not getting the light. Now, I've said before, we don't really get direct sunlight here in the garden for about 4 to 5 months of the year, which is causing me a few issues at the moment with the perk staying charged. I'm actually having to come out once a week to 10 days to actually just top it up to keep it going. So having the solar panel out here now, sort of it's out from under the tree completely. It is doing a lot better, but like I said, I'm still having to come out and charge it up, which is fine. So if you are looking at getting yourself a feeder with a camera fitted, that is something that you're going to need to be really aware of. If it's got a solar panel, it has to be in an area where there's a lot of sunlight, or where you can get a charging cable to it to actually charge it up and top it up when needed. Another addition to the garden is this bird box you see up behind me. Now, we were going to put a few out, but we decided with just the one, because we only had one camera, so we've put the camera in that one in the hopes that we would get a bird nesting over the spring. What we're going to do is actually install that. Now, we need to install that near to a power point because this one doesn't have any solar panels or anything with it. So we're going to put it on the back of one of these lean-tos so we can feed it through the window and get the power to it that way. Okay, so moment of truth. Now the bird box is up. Is the camera working and in the right place? I think that's the right time. Yeah, well, it's ticking up, that's live, so that's good. So hopefully now, it's just a waiting game to see if anything actually goes in and uses it. To our surprise, the very next morning we had our first guests in the bird box. The blue tit was in and out the box over the next few weeks and even brought a mate along. While there was a lot of activity, unfortunately they chose not to use this box for nesting this year. We thought that would be the end of it. However, in September we had another blue tit take up residence over the course of the next 2 months. It was a joy to watch it fluff itself up overnight, as well as see it doing some housekeeping. The blue tit was coming in multiple times a day right up until the 19th of November, which was when we last saw it. We're not sure if it moved on to find a new nesting spot as it was getting much colder now, or if something unfortunate has happened to it. Now, while that blue tit has unfortunately moved on, I am hopeful that in the spring we will have some resident birds nesting and hopefully bringing up a brood of chicks. And it's not just the addition of the spy cameras to the garden that we have going on. Tim has finished building my sort of insect habitat, so it's just sort of wood and logs and bits of pipe and rubble that we had in the garden that we were sort of not really doing anything with, so we sort of put that to good use in the hopes of making it more of an insect habitat, but also hopefully somewhere that maybe probably not birds, but the dream would be to have a stoat move in to one of these pipes or just this area, so we'll see on that. And then we've also got the dead hedge sort of bit which was filling the gap in the fence into the neighbour's field. And I do think that all of these things that we have been doing has really helped bring in more birds to the garden along with the feeders. Now the final sort of swap that we've done really is I've swapped out the 2 plastic feeders that I was using for the bird seed or the sunflower seeds for one sort of larger metal one. It's sort of twice the capacity of those original ones. With this metal one you can get more birds feeding from it, but it's a hell of a lot easier to clean, so that is sort of one of the main reasons why I went for that as well. Now when it comes to actually taking photos, I haven't actually taken photos in the garden of the birds since the last video. I just like watching the birds really from, you know, the window and just sitting and watching them rather than coming out and taking photos all the time. I have quite a creative job as well, so for those of you that don't know, I actually run a leathercraft business and I make videos and stuff for that, so sometimes you can have enough creativity in a day. So I just, for me the joy that has been this project is actually seeing what new species are coming in and just watching them. Like now, just watching them on the feeders and stuff like that is just brilliant. And it's been great to see what new species we've got coming in. Like thanks to that peck perk, you know, I can actually see and go on and see what's coming in. We have got the woodpeckers are still coming in, which has been great, and they are going on to the peck perk feeder, which is quite fun to watch. And we've got goldfinch coming in, greenfinch, and we've also got a couple of nuthatch, which I'm very excited for. So I am hoping to get some photos of those at some point. But yeah, it's just been great to see those coming in. So I think that is enough chat. What I'm going to do is get set up and sort of sit out for, I don't know, maybe an hour or so and see what pictures we can get. Been out here for a little while. There is a lot of bird activity. However, they're not going to any of the perches that I set up. They're going straight from the hawthorn onto the one feeder that I left out. I was hoping that they'd go on at least one of my perches in between, but they don't seem to be doing that at the moment. It is still early days, but I feel like that hawthorn is just close enough that they'll probably just keep doing that. So not ideal, but hopefully I can get some good pictures of them coming in from there. So it's just gone 10 and I think I'm going to call it there for this morning. The sun is coming out, so it's hitting the other side of the valley and our garden is in complete shade now. So I think what I'm going to do is stop for a minute and try and figure out the nuthatch. Of course, I decide oh, this is going to be it. And the nuthatch comes in. Dang it. Anyway, I need to find a better way of sorting out these perches because they're just not going on the ones that I'm putting out at all. They're going from the tree to the feeder, and that is it. And although it's nice to get them in the tree is very messy, and they're right in the thick of it and not really out on the ends of the limbs. So I need to have a bit of a think of that. So I've just moved the perches around and added some more. I've put them much closer to the feeder, and if I sort of move over a bit where I was shooting from, I should get a clean sort of background here and on the back of that one, and hopefully this one as well. So I'm hoping with having more perches here, they might actually stop onto them rather than just keep flying from the hawthorn to the feeder. So we'll have to sit and wait on that one. Well, this morning I was out in the pop tent, but that sits up really high, and that's the only place where it can go is like up the top of the garden. So I'm going to try and just sit in my leafy camo, and hopefully that'll be enough to just stop them, or to take the photos. Like when I'm working in the garden, they are absolutely not bothered by me being around. So hopefully that'll work. So I just got to cover the pet perk and then we can get going. Right, pet perk is blocked off. Let's sit and see how we get on. I think this will work. The birds are starting to come in already, which is a good sign. So just sit and wait, and hopefully they'll go on one of my perches that I've put out. Don't think this is working, and now it has started to come into rain. So the birds are still hanging around, so I might just get the chair out and I'll just have to be up higher, but at least they should hang around, because at the moment they're sort of flying out from the hawthorn and sort of turning back halfway, or they're just going on, they're not hanging around over on the feeder. So a new plan of action is required. I'm in the tent. It's nice to get out of the rain. It's come down quite quickly. It's gone really dark again now, so I'm gonna have to like drop. Even at, oh my goodness, this is not ideal. At 1/250th of a second, my ISO, I've got it on auto ISO, that's looking at being 10,000. It's not ideal. The birds are still coming in, very fleetingly. Even like when I'm sat right at the back of this tent, I think they can still see me somewhat. I've only got the little porthole opened, but they are very skittish. So I'm hoping if I just hang out for a bit, maybe they'll get used to me. Maybe they won't. This is what I get for not photographing in the garden and coming up with a proper sort of system in place. But oh well, at least I'm dry now. Okay, so a lot has just happened. That was amazing. Okay, so the woodpecker came in, and initially it went onto the woodpecker perch that I set up on one of the logs. But then it's made its way onto the sunflower seed feeder, and it was there for quite a while, hogging it, which meant that it actually forced the birds onto my perches because they couldn't all fit on at the same time. So that was amazing, and my perches got used, and I think I got some pretty good shots there. Definitely got the goldfinch, I think the greenfinch as well. I still want the little coal tit, because I haven't got a picture of the coal tit yet. Not a nice one. But yeah, so that was nice. So even though it is piddling it down, they are still coming out, and because it is quite a slow shutter, I've got all like the rain streaks going through, which look quite cool. So happy with that. So I'm going to sit out for a bit longer and yeah, see what else comes along. Okay, so we've been in the hide for about an hour now, and I think that's where I'm going to call it today. It actually turned out really well. We had, in the end, 2 visits from the woodpecker, which was pretty cool. And the nuthatch did very briefly make an appearance and hopped on to the sunflower seed feeder for a very brief moment. So pretty happy with that. And I'm actually pretty happy with how this setup eventually worked. So I can see where I can make improvements on it. And where I can add additional perches. I want to move one over so it's in the gap a bit more, but yeah, pretty happy with that. So thank you very much for watching this garden update video, and I shall see you in the next one.